In this video, we're going to talk about confidence interval around odds ratio and relative risk. So what do you mean by confidence interval? Confidence interval is actually equivalent to the p-value. So from this information, we can know if there is a statistical significant or not. So what do we mean by the confidence intervals? So let's take the following example. If the confidence intervals range from 4 to 7.95, it means if we repeat this study 100 times, 95 studies, the range going to be between 4 to 7.95. So the range of the result going to be within this range. Only 5 studies going to be outside this range. So how are we going to know if it's significant or not? We're going to look to this range. So in this range, we're going to see that between 4 to 7.95, and it's not include 1. So if the confidence interval did not include 1, it means statistical significant. Because why? Every time we repeat this study, the first group going to be higher than the second group by 4 times, by 5.2, by 6.2, by 6.7, up to 7.95. So every time the first group going to be higher than the second group. If we look to the second example, the confidence interval range between 0.25 to 0.65. We're going to see the first group is lower than the second group. So every time we repeat this study, the first group going to be lower than the second group by 0.25, by 0.27, by 3.8, and so on. So this result is again statistical significant because it did not include 1. However, in the last example, we're going to see the confidence interval range from 0.8 to 1.15. So you can see in the range here, it includes 1. So sometimes the confidence interval, it means the first group going to be higher than the second group if it's bigger than 1, or it's going to be lower compared with the second group if the number is going to be less than 1. So again, that's why in this example, the result will not be statistically significant. So let's see those examples. Odds ratio 2.3, confidence interval range between 1.3 to 3.6. It means the first group is higher than the second group by 2.3 times compared with the second group. And the confidence interval range between 1.3 to 3.6, which means the result is statistically significant because it did not include 1. In the second example here is 0.66, confidence interval range between 0.23 to 0.88. So the first group is less compared with the second group by 0.66 times. And the result is statistically significant because it did not include 1. So every time we repeat this study, the first group going to be lower compared with the second group because the range is going to be between 0.23 to 0.88. However, in the last example, the odds ratio is 1.5. The first group is higher compared with the second group by 1.5 times. However, the result is not statistically significant because you can see here the confidence interval include 1. So sometimes is the first group going to be higher, sometimes the first group going to be lower. So the result is not statistically significant. The same thing, if you're going to apply the concept of confidence interval around the relative risk, it's the same meaning comparing with the odds ratio. The previous example is limited to the odds ratio. Here you can see is going to be on the relative risk, and it has the same explanations. For example, relative risk 1.9, it means the first group is 90% higher compared with the second group. The result is statistically significant because it did not include 1. In the second example, the first group is lower compared with the second group by 56%. And the result is statistically significant. The third example, the first group is higher than the second group by 20%, and the result is not statistically significant because it includes 1. Thank you.